All right, Reaction Monday, SNL, Landry Locker, Cody, Stoots. Subscribe where you get your podcast. Just type in Stoots and Locker Texans, whether it's Spotify, whatever, and we got you covered. We got you here on YouTube, 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, and then 4 o'clock to react to the final injury report. But go ahead and subscribe if you don't mind. The Texans, the word that I use is disrespect with what happened yesterday in Jerry World when it came to the Texans. Not only did the Texans disrespect the Cowboys on the field. Not the prettiest win, but it was pretty well in hand. But there was a really strong Texans presence there as well in the stands. You were on the scene, Cody. You're still in Dallas. What was your takeaway from just the overall assessment of the Texans win along with the whole atmosphere at Jerry World?
The Texans fans did a great job showing up, and then the Houston Texans, you want to talk about disrespect. It felt like at different points in that game, the Texans did not have any respect for what they thought the Cowboys could do. I mean, I felt like the going for it on fourth down on that second drive, like a 2-possession lead against this crappy Cowboys team, like that's going to be tough for them to overcome. And the Texans later in the game took the 2-possession lead instead of going for it. But that early go for it, my thought right away was, okay, they don't really respect these guys. And they feel like even if they miss this, they're going to keep them off the scoreboard. And this isn't going to be that close when it's all said and done. They did a great job adjusting at halftime defensively to get to where they wanted to be and where I think most people expected them to be, which is dominating this Cowboys offense. And this is a solid victory that in a few weeks can mean a lot for this team, and in a few weeks could mean nothing for this team, because it should be a nice base to work off of for the next couple of weeks ahead of the bye week. And you build on what you did against the Cowboys. You do it against the Titans and the Jaguars again. And then hopefully going into the bye week, you figured out some things about yourself as the Texans that you know you can do. You know you can execute. You know you can rely on. And a couple of guys at a couple of units that need to get better have got a little confidence going because they've stacked a couple of games. That's what this game should be for the Houston Texans.
I thought it was important because you held serve with the Indianapolis Colts. You still have the 2+ game lead with 2 games before the bye and 6 games remaining overall. I thought that was very important. I thought it was important to show that things aren't awful. Like you still might not be feeling like as elite of a football team as you would like. And we'll get into some of the Van Gundy philosophy. Don't ignore in victory what you would not ignore in defeat. But I thought that was the case. For me, the thing about this team that I think is the most encouraging is that this defense is elite. And this defense, it doesn't matter what they're handed. It doesn't matter if you have two starting linebackers when you only start 2 linebackers out. It doesn't matter if you only have 1 cornerback. It doesn't matter if one of your starting safeties misses an extended period of time. It doesn't matter. The defense is going to put together more times than not an effort that is good enough to at least give the offense the opportunity to win the game. And I think you can even say that against Minnesota, as bad as that was, because I think that was mainly the offensive line. I think the offensive line put the defense in some tough situations. But for me, that is the thing that you take away from this. And that is the thing that when you're talking about potentially traveling to Kansas City, to Buffalo, to wherever you're going to go on the road, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, wherever. This defense, especially assuming that they're going to be more healthy at that time, and especially given the fact that you're going to have the luxury because of the dog-butted division you're in to get those guys healthy, this defense is going to give you a chance to win games. And it's not like the offense depended on one guy. I also will say, I think Nico Collins makes, I know this is like big no bleep Sherlock type of stuff, but I think he makes a big difference. I think that I think that Nico Collins, as far as the quick game, I think we saw some signs of that. I think as far as CJ Stroud's confidence as it grows, I think we see that. And I think the offense, like while the offense is not, it's not going to be as elite as many would hope because they are handcuffed by this offensive line, no matter what CJ and DeMeco say. Nico Collins being back, like this team's ceiling is very, very high. Was yesterday like a perfect performance? The game was actually pretty close later on before it kind of got away from the before it kind of got away from the Cowboys. But I think this team, given how good this defense is and given how they're not dependent on just one thing, I think it's a scary thought for the rest of the league once this defense gets healthy. And I think that gives you a chance to reach the goals that you set out before the start of this season.
They are potentially one of the best defenses in football when healthy, and they've got the potential to be the best defense in football when they get healthy. I mean, you think about that performance last night, and I get that it's a bad Cowboys team, but I mean, anytime you shut out a team in the second half, that's really impressive. And they didn't even have Will Anderson and Kamari Lassiter. And I have to imagine if Lassiter plays, they probably don't give up that giant touchdown that Jeff Okudah gave up. Even then, to only give up that as the only touchdown that the Cowboys scored was really impressive. But you add Will Anderson back in, and getting him back in to the rotation on the defensive line might even make Autry and Barnett even more effective because you can utilize them a little bit more judiciously. The linebackers are very solid. Jaylen Pitre's position is well taken care of with him. And then that secondary is really nasty. I mean, you saw traveling Derek Stingley for a good portion of the game last night on CeeDee Lamb, and you saw how tough.
Yeah, and you saw how tough Derek Stingley made it for CeeDee Lamb. I thought that was a good thing for DeMeco Ryans. We'll get Stoots back. He's in Dallas. They're running out of things. The stadium's falling apart, and Cody's who knows what the hell he did last night. He got in some trouble. It is SNL. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Mike says, let's not get too happy about the defense. Bruh, it's the Cowboys. Let's be for real. This defense has been performing all season long. It doesn't matter whether Will Anderson's in there. It doesn't matter whether he's out. It doesn't matter whether you don't have linebackers. It doesn't matter whether you're missing a corner. They put together. Let's listen. Just listen to what we're saying or what I'm saying. They put together a winning effort every single week, no matter what the situation is. So this isn't about the Cowboys. This isn't about one game. This is not an overreaction. There's a lot of overreactions on Overreaction Monday/Tuesday, but this is about the Texans defense doing what they got to do no matter what. This isn't just about facing the Cowboys. This is about an entire season. I think a piece of the stadium just fell on Cody Stoots' head and computer. We'll try to get him back in here. Echo, Jesus, Jesus, however we want to pronounce it. Swarm in the super chat.
Swarm.
I appreciate you, my friend. In the life of Colby, shout out to you. He says Landry owes Pitre some flowers. You was on his ass last year. Pause. But yeah, I don't mind giving flowers. I can buy myself flowers. I will say this though, in the role that Jaylen Pitre was in last year, he was really, really bad. And I do still think there's limitations when he's on, when he's in coverage. But in this new role, he's a badass. I don't know how Christian Harris fits in if and when he comes back in December. But in this role, Jaylen Pitre is a tone setter. There will be times where opposing offensive coordinators will put him in uncomfortable situations. But at the moment, Jaylen Pitre is an absolute tone setter. So, yeah, he can get some flowers, no doubt. Is your computer okay? I told them a ceiling panel kind of hit your computer up there in Dallas. Is it okay? Are you gonna get us some Jerry Jones money? We got a new studio coming next week. It's gonna be better than anything Barstool has because that panel hit Stoots in the head.
Oh my goodness! If that thing had gotten me, I'd have been laying under there acting like it had ended me. And Jerry had been paying out.
You were talking about Stingley.
Yes, Stingley traveling. You saw how difficult it was for CeeDee Lamb to get going with Stingley on him. The times that he was on him, and these safeties. I mean, they trust all three of those safeties in Bullock, Ward, and Eric Murray to go out there and fill whatever role they need. And it's a really impressive defense on paper when healthy, but we have seen a lot of it executed on the field and how well they have played a bunch of different times on the field. Forget the on paper element of it. Once fully healthy, and we haven't seen it yet this season because of various suspensions and injuries and things like that. Once fully healthy, they have top of the league potential on this defense.
Yeah. And I must pay Aline ass. Shout out to her. She's one of our best. She keeps us very accountable. She says, why do y'all keep saying he's coming back in December? I will say this. There's not a lot of things you can trust us on. We did tell you he wasn't coming back after week 4. We basically told you.
It'd be a long time.
And notice I'm saying if/when. I'm just saying it's going to be. I said it'd be closer to December 1st than November 1st. I said that. So don't trust us on a lot of things, but I think we could see him back December. It's going to be closer to December 1st than January 1st. No guarantees, but we have been on top of this all year. So that this is kind of a decent place to go when it comes to the Christian Harris. Now, she does have a good point there. I haven't seen any reports. This is just us. There is no report on this. Yeah, and A-Dub with the injury has been a little bit rough. With the offensive line shuffles, he's been on top of it. With the injuries, not great. How does just stepping away here, if we're thinking long term, because right now you got some lightweights in front of you. You got the Titans, you got the and we'll get into the Cowboys game. How does Christian Harris fit into this thing though, with the role of Jaylen Pitre? Let's talk about that in a sec. First, speaking of Aaron Wilson, he caught up with Jaylen Pitre in the locker room. Let's hear what Jaylen Pitre had to say, and then let's just talk about what this looks like. Like, if this defense gets full strength, what does this awesome Jaylen Pitre role look like? Let's hear from him first, and then we'll get into that conversation on the back end. Appreciate everyone for being here. Reaction Monday on SNL. Texans disrespect, dominate the Cowboys.
A hard-hitting performance by you. Were you trying to set a tone? And obviously, that's the way you play, but did you want to send a message a little bit?
For sure. Every time, that's the mentality of this team, of this defense. It's to send a message every time we out there, to make plays and to impact the game. And I think for the most part, as a team, we did that today.
Physical football play. We saw you lead with the shoulder. What was your take on kind of the tackle you made?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it as what's the word I want to use? Legal as possible, but still, deliver the blow for sure. But definitely trying to lead with the shoulder, keep the head out of it, and make sure that I'm not, having any helmet-to-helmet contact.
Crazy play, Derek Barnett. He strips it, and you force a fumble on a big offensive lineman. Then he scores, which I'm not sure if that's ever happened in football history before.
Yeah, that's my dog, man. He shows up every day ready to work, and I'm just feeding off his energy. Like you said, he got the strip sack, wonderful rush, and then I was just running to the ball because I thought I was going to super score it, and he ended up with it, and then it just happened. It was just like hit him, and it came out, and then he scooped and scored. Looked pretty athletic on that one too, for sure.
What do you feel like?
All right, there you go. That's Jaylen Pitre, Aaron Wilson, KPRC, with the video. So what does this look like when Harris gets back? What are we looking at on this defense? I'm assuming they keep Pitre in his role, and then it's just an extreme rotation of linebackers. I think To'o. I mean, he's obviously he told me earlier this year that he was just a fat ass last year, and he was, and that's a quote. That's not me. That's a quote from him. He's moving around better. I think Devin White is kind of finding his groove. That's not a tire kick. That's a depth piece. Noel Devine. The linebacker depth right now, if you want to talk about something like, as much as we'll harp on the offensive line and all that and the disappointment that has been this offensive line and what the current standards are, but if you just look at like a position group from how you felt about it heading into the season to how you feel now, even without arguably your best player in that position group last year out, linebacker depth is insane. It almost seems like DeMeco has that magic dust no matter what with that position group.
Yeah, but take your time. Christian Harris, they don't need him. Like, he's a luxury piece at this point. Your comments about a rotation and getting him into the rotation, I don't know that you would want to take Jaylen Pitre off the field as well as he's playing. Sure, there's maybe a moment here or there where the other team's got a bunch of, big fatties on the field and you want to put a little bit more beef on the field. But Petry's an integral part to this defense, and credit to DeMeco Ryans, because I was skeptical that this was going to work for an entire season. And for most of the season, it has worked. Does he get found in coverage sometimes? Sure. But as successful as he's been a couple of different times from that Pitre position, is kind of what I call it, you'll live with him getting found in coverage here or there because of what he brings to the table, helping this rushing defense and being able to get after the quarterback and some of the stuff that he does do successfully.
The other thing is, I don't even know that you have to rush back Will Anderson at this point. I think the defensive line is independent. Like, at this point, like if you just gave him extensive rest, and this is your best player, and you just make do with what you got against these other squads, and I think that's good. I don't mind erring on the side of caution with Will Anderson, because it's a scary thought with this full strength defense. can look like. Luis saying, I don't know that I would call this a dominant win. It's dominant for a number of reasons. Like, obviously it was close at the end, but you dominated the stands and you completely disrespected the Cowboys. I mean, it was chippy. Joe Mixon right off the top with the "you're too little," like high stepping into the end zone. That's dominance. It's dominance and it's disrespectful the way you do it. But if you win by 24, I mean, you can nitpick and all that, and God knows we will. But that's dominance when you dominate the stands and you end up dominating the scoreboard. So I would call that dominant. Does it mean it's like the end all be all? Does it mean it would have happened had you played a good team? No, we know the Cowboys are not good. But that's where the dominance comes from. Appreciate you for coming through though.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you shut an opponent out in the second half, that's a dominant element of your performance. And then I would also say, did it ever feel like the Texans were losing this football game? To me,
no. It felt like they might not cover, but I mean, it didn't feel like they were going to lose. No, it did not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like at any point, did I think that they could lose the game? I think the end of I think whenever you thought it could get interesting was perhaps at the end of the first half when Dallas could perhaps cut the lead to, I think 1, the Aubrey missed field goal, or maybe 4, whichever it was on the Aubrey rare miss, first one in his career at home. But and then they got the ball at the end of the half. But no, I never really thought there was like a real threat for the Cowboys to lose the game, or for the Texans to lose the game at all.
Yeah. So I would tell you, if you never thought you were losing the game, that lends to the dominance. Is it the most dominant? Is it Detroit Lions dominant? No, it's not Detroit Lions dominant, but it was a dominant win.
Yeah, and with where they are, and I think the D line deserves a lot of credit too. Derek Barnett. I don't know how Tim Settle only got 1 sack though. They're gonna have to check that.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, he got like an extra half earlier this year, so like maybe it's fallen even, you know.
Oh, okay, it's just kind of like evening out.
That's what I'm talking about. Your comment about Will Anderson is a really good one, because if you just gotten a random performance from someone like Barnett and Settle have the performance they did yesterday, and you didn't have a guy doing the stuff that Danielle Hunter is doing, you might press to get Will Anderson back on the field just so you have like a really solid base. But the way that Danielle Hunter is playing right now, I mean, to not even touch Cooper Rush in the first half, and the very first play coming out of halftime, Danielle Hunter just destroys the blocker and gets to Cooper Rush. And what he's been able to do this season, 7.5 sacks. He leads the league in quarterback pressures. He leads the league he's one of the highest guys in quarterback pressure percentage. Like the next closest guy to him in quarterback pressures is 15 pressures behind him. They've played the same amount of games. Like he's been a monster. He's been worth every penny. And I'm even more excited to see this version of Hunter where he's kind of hit his stride when Will Anderson comes back.
Yeah, he just kind of does his thing, man. Like he stays at home. He doesn't overrush, and I think that was a big issue that they had. They won't say it publicly, but if you kind of read between the lines of what DeMeco Ryans has said, when he talks about indirectly Jonathan Grenard and Malik Collins, I think essentially he's saying that those guys don't stay at home. A lot of times they're going upfield and chasing sacks as opposed to just kind of staying at home. And that's what Danielle Hunter does. Like it doesn't matter to him whether he gets a sack or not. And because he's so strong and because he's so disciplined, more times than not, he's going to walk away with at least a sack in a game. And I think you kind of read between the lines. I think DeMeco kind of feels that way as well. But yeah, just rest Will Anderson. You got the 2 games. If you win these next 2 games, then worst case scenario, assuming that can't even say this with a straight face, assuming that the Colts beat the Lions, then you're 2+ games up, essentially 3 games up on the Colts after the bye. Assuming that you beat the Titans and Jags, they'll have 0 chance of catching you no matter what happens. And then you can just get healthy, ice up, figure some stuff out for the bye week. It's absolutely perfect. The bye week actually kind of lays out at like a perfect time. Some people looked at that at the start of the season, said that's a late bye week. It is laying out perfectly with where this squad is. Super chat, Echo Jesus, however the heck you pronounce it.
Damn it, Bobby.
That was however you say it. I don't know who I offended there. Troy Aikman said it best. If CJ hits his receivers in stride, Texans would have more touchdowns. Hope CJ gets his mojo back. Yeah, CJ can play better. And let's kind of hop into that. CJ Stroud can play better. He said so himself. You were at the podium. I don't think that's too harsh. I think CJ knows that he can play better and he can be better. And I think there's a strong possibility that he will be better.
I mean, there's about 3 or 4 throws that if he just hits some of those throws, he's a little bit more accurate on those throws. They really blow out the Cowboys even more than they already did. And the thing about what CJ Stroud didn't hit, the thing about being critical of his performance last night with some of the misses is we've seen him hit those throws. We've seen him hit that 3rd and 1 pass to Tank Dell where he was off. We've seen him hit that throw. We've seen him get the ball to Nico Collins there in the red zone and not throw it behind Nico for an interception. We've seen him, throw it low but high enough that his guys can catch it. He had a couple of that the one to Nico deep down the field that bounced that McCarthy challenged, as well as a couple of lower ones to Tank Dell. Like, we've seen him make those throws. So it's not like you're one of these lesser quarterback situations where you're hoping that guy eventually makes those throws. No, we've seen him do that. And as he gets more and more confident that this offensive line can perform, it'll be easier for him to hit some of those throws. And yeah, even when he has time, he's got to hit more of those throws than he did to beat good teams, to blow out even more than they did really bad teams. They still had some issues there in the second half, getting things moving from a touchdown perspective until that final drive where Mixon really sort of took over and took care of business. But they get a couple of more throws from CJ Stroud in this game, and they put probably at the very least another 11 points on the board and probably a lot more than that. So yeah, my faith that he's going to get those throws correct and he's going to make those throws is super high because we've seen him make those throws before.
Yeah, and I mean, he's very accountable. He says that he could be better, and I believe that he can be as well. I mean, the other thing is, look, he's playing behind an offensive line that, let's be honest, like they're graded. They're not graded like everybody on this team. Like, it's if the Texans survive and they win a game, the offensive line is going to get overly praised at an extreme level. And I did the grades for HOU football. And if you like the written word of football and you want to keep it alive, this man right here, Cody Stoots, HOU football is the place to go. Be sure to subscribe to that. It's some of the best written word that you'll get. But my grades now, I've changed the way I take the offensive line into the classroom. It is now a completion grade. It's not A through F. It is a completion grade because that is where we're at with the offensive line. Is it ideal? No, but that is where we're at. So they got a completion grade yesterday. CJ Stroud's called them the heartbeat of the team. No, Joe Mixon is the heartbeat of the team. CJ Stroud is the heartbeat of the team. The defense is the heartbeat of the team. The offensive line is now being graded on a completion grade. And I thought it was really funny yesterday. And I think this is just kind of the best way to present it, because I don't want to make a blanket statement without explaining it to the best of my ability. But CJ Stroud calls them the heartbeat. I think that's interesting. I actually thought they were really bad in the first half. I thought Titus was getting away with holding of Micah Parsons at like an extreme level. And they were fortunately not calling it. But the other thing is, DeMeco Ryans mentioned twice, I think in his press conference, the Nico Collins play, like as a representation of how good Nico Collins is. And I don't disagree. It was, I mean, there was like, that was vintage Nico Collins. He might take that to the house no matter what, but he completely ignored the fact that play, that tone setting play got eliminated because the league leader in penalties and your best offensive lineman picked up a penalty right off the top. Mm-hmm. And that, like, I think that is completely symbolic of how this offensive line is looked at, because they know that this offensive line, they're just going to have to make do with what they got. But when a penalty that cost you a 70-yard play right off the top in the return of one of your best players is negated, and the coach is flat out ignoring it and just kind of minimizing it, that tells you all you need to know about where they stand when it comes to this offensive line.
Yeah, it very much feels like that class I had to take after my first semester at Texas Tech, where it's like a professional development, get you back on track. If you don't pass this class, we kick you out of school. But it was all just pass, fail, and show up. And that's where we are with the offensive line. Hey, they pass or they fail. Well, they passed last night. Still some elements of the game you would like cleaned up. But, after a lot of fails in a row, they certainly, improved and took a jump. It was the first time since week 4 that they didn't allow 40% or more from a quarterback pressure standpoint.
There you go. See, they're making progress. They didn't allow 40% or more. Let's hear from Titus Howard. Aaron Wilson caught up with him. Let's hear what Titus has to say. I guarantee you he's going to be treated like he just completely shut down Micah Parsons. Go ahead.
This is the offense, man. We've been, leaning on him a lot in the run game, and he's been coming through.
This is a win that kind of satisfying, and you are a Texas team.
Yeah,
they are the Cowboys.
Yeah, we wanted this win, man. They was talking. Some of the guys were talking crazy, saying we was their little bros. So, it felt good to come here and get a win, not just because it's Texas team, but just to get back on the win column and score some points, man. Put some points up.
I think it was Overshown, the linebacker, right?
Yeah.
He thinks that they still run Texas. According to him. Not really.
All right, there you go. So shots at DeMario Overshown. There's Titus Howard there. So there's that. Nice to hear from old Titus. But yeah, the offensive line is what it is at this point. You're just making do with what you got.
Look, it improved from last week, so that's a positive. It's the second week with this offensive line set up with these 5 guys, Scruggs at left guard and Patterson at center. So if they make incremental improvements, they might find themselves as like a late teens offensive line, like the 19th or 18th best offensive line. But they still have a long way to go. Juice Scruggs is a huge liability at left guard. His consistency is non-existent. He's bad at run blocking. He has some bad pass blocking moments. But they saw improvements in back-to-back weeks from their previous week with these 5 guys. So I would say it'd be very difficult for them, the way that they operate, to bench Juice Scruggs. But he was the worst offensive lineman last night for me. It
wasn't good.
It's been sort of a race to the bottom at different times throughout the course of the year between left guard and right guard. But Shaq Mason had a nice enough performance last night, but Scruggs was, he let guys run by him. He's a huge liability on this team right now. He's a black hole on this offensive line.
He's better than Kenyon Green. That's the only thing you can really say right now. And he's much better in pass protection.
Yeah, it's better than Kenyon Green, but that was a super low bar to clear. So
no doubt. But what did I say about this offensive line? It's a different grading scale, my friend.
Yeah, and look, if you don't like what Juice Scruggs is doing, they saw improvements in back-to-back weeks. They're not going to make a huge change on the offensive line. And
I don't think they should, but it's definitely not awesome.
I don't feel great about him finishing the year as the left guard. What I mean is, if he finishes the season as the left guard, there will be some moments where you're like, what in the hell's going on there?
No doubt. There's not going to be a complete fix of the offensive line until the offseason. I think we can agree with that. The one thing I will say, though, is maybe this is a Patterson thing. Hell, maybe it's a Scruggs for Kenyon Green thing. Who knows? Maybe there's something there to it. They do seem – now they face Dallas and they face Detroit, so it's a little bit different. They do seem a lot less confused when it comes to basic stunts and stuff. Although they did got with, one here or there, but they do seem less confused.
That is one thing that I agreed with DeMeco Ryans when he was talking about the offensive line last week, is that there was better communication up front and there was more improvement on the communication. It does seem like they are in better positions and not wholly and totally out of position like they were at different times this year. It does seem like that is the case.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. MH We Nation, did CJ have fun yesterday? I think so. I think he had some
He
fun.
said he did.
Yeah.
He said he did.
Yeah, I think he had some fun. So yeah, I would say he did. Sure.
Was MH Nation looking for an F? Yeah, he did.
I think he was good. Let's talk about Derek Stingley. What about Derek Stingley? They decided to go with the I don't want to call it an obvious approach, but they decided to shadow CD Lamb with Stingley. I thought he did an excellent job. Actually, could have had a couple more interceptions, maybe. Look, it's kind of like it's nitpicky as hell. Because on one hand, I think he gets his hands on footballs that very few corners can get their hands on, and have the ball skills, the wherewithal, the instincts to get it. But on the other hand, he's just so damn good at going up there. Like between the interception last week against the Lions that he could have had, and this week, he got the one, he got the gift, but he probably could have had a couple of more. He's just been absolutely effing fantastic, Derek Stingley. A kind of de facto contract year and that you're going to be eligible for the extension after the year. Derek Stingley has been incredible this year, and he's not just covering. He is a more than willing player at the line of scrimmage. He's been unbelievable this year.
I mean, he's awesome, and I would love to see this approach against any team that has one significant offensive option. You're not going to face a lot of those teams. But in a game where the Cowboys' only significant offensive option is CeeDee Lamb, let Derek Stingley go out there and do what he does against CeeDee Lamb for most of the game and shut him down. So, hey, Sunday, Sunday, Tennessee Titans. All right, Calvin Ridley. He's the only option. Go shut down Calvin Ridley. I mean, go take him away from Will Levis. Whatever the top guy is for the Jaguars, go do that. And then coming out of the bye week,
who is the top guy for the Jaguars?
You probably could be the top guy for the Jaguars right now. They stink. I guess
Is
Brian
Mac
Thomas.
Jones, is Mac Jones going to start? By the way,
I think Lawrence is back after the bye week.
For what?
So I think it's going to be Mac Jones.
I want to see the child model, man.
The child model.
Child model, man.
What am I missing here?
Mac Jones was a child model. You didn't know that?
Oh, I didn't know this. He was like a Gerber baby?
Yeah, Mac Jones was a child model, dude. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was like a child model. You learn something new every day with me. I possess a lot of useless information. But yeah, he was a child model, man.
Michael McCorkle Jones, his full name.
Yeah. Look at this kid, man.
Jeez. You make a little scratch for that when you're a kid?
Probably. Or your parents pushing you really hard.
All of a sudden, you don't have to do chores because you got that model money.
Yeah.
So with Stingley, like there are going to be games where where traveling maybe doesn't make as much sense. It made a ton of sense here, and he did a really nice job. And as we talk about Stingley, credit to DJ Bename for tweeting this out because it works out perfectly into our conversation. Next gen stats this year. Derek Stingley on Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams, and DJ Moore. Okay. 17 targets for 95 yards, 5 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah. And he could have more interceptions. Like
he could have so many more interceptions.
And I think that's kind of the difference between when you're talking about Derek Stingley and CJ Stroud and other guys versus the offensive line. Like at some point you get realistic, like 11 weeks into the season, you get kind of realistic. And that's where it is with Derek Stingley is, yeah, he's been really, 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 really good. Probably could be even better. There's a high bar. CJ Stroud, not awful. Probably could be better. He admits it. Offensive line, make do with what we got.
Offensive line, good job, guys. Good job.
Dwayne Lewis swarming the super chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Oh, wow. This is strong. This is a hot take. This is what we're talking about right here. Derek Stingley is the second best defensive player in Texans history behind J.J. Watt. I added the J.J. Watt thing. I'm assuming that's what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Seems a little early for that. But yeah, he's playing very well.
Hey, when you've got such great AC from Platinum AC and Heating like my guy Dwayne does for you, it's easy to have the hot takes because you can stay cool.
Hey, He could be very much headed that way. I like that.
I mean, there's a lot left to get to that level, but I mean, he's got an opportunity to be an all-pro corner by the end of this year, and there's going to be two. Actually, really, out of the bye week, there's three really important and impressive potential matchups for him. I mean, it's Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins offense right out of the bye, and then it's Kansas City and Baltimore within a couple of days. And Stingley has to be excellent in all three of those games for the Texans to do what they want to do.
No doubt. Space City Baller says DeMeco said he told Sting to stick to 88. Good game plan. Solid game plan.
Yeah. Wish we'd seen it a couple more times over the course of the season, but
Frankie Bone says Barnett penalty and then getting a TD is too funny. Yeah, he had he took away the 64-yard field goal, and then he had the big man touchdown, which was really funny. Actually ended the TD drought before the Texans really made a strong effort to end that. We'll get to Bobby Slowik in a second.
Did you know that, they called it head slapping or head slapping?
Yeah, they called it the head slap. That's
it definitely looked like a penalty.
Well, the irony of that is I remember back in my day, millennial days, and you could probably YouTube this. There was an offensive lineman on the Cowboys named Eric Williams, number 79, and he used to go against like Reggie White and all these other guys, and he would wear a big-ass club on his hand, and he would just slap the piss out of guys. And now they call it a little bit more, but he would just smack the living crap out of dudes right down the street in Jerry World.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eric Williams.
Yeah, good job by I mean, that's one of the coolest plays you're going to see all season long. He forces the strip sack, and then the offensive lineman for the Cowboys picks it up. Pitre comes in like a missile.
Look at that cast, dude. He's not even hurt. He's just wearing that just to smack you in the backside of the head right there.
He just went to the doc, got the plaster on, and said,
just smack the piss out of you is what he would do. And they call it.
Who's that wrestler back in the day? Cowboy Bob Orton used to have the fake broken arm so he could hit people with his cast.
Jay says DeMeco Ryans really is a junkyard dog. Yeah, that was a badass display by DeMeco. You go down, you're hurt.
Dude, he looked like he was done for the year initially when he was down. He was just like writhing in pain.
You're like, is he all right? And then you hear Troy Aikman on the broadcast say, they're already thin at D-line. They're without their starting D-tackle, Foley Fatukasi, and one of the best young defensive ends in the league, Will Anderson. Then Joe Buck's like, yeah, they sure are. And then he limps off the field. And then you see, and then all of a sudden, like they pan over and you see the cheerleaders cheering with the Cowboys, and you see DeMeco Ryans like just running on the side. And it's like, okay, maybe he's okay. And then I'll be damned if on the third down of that drive,
first plays back,
boom,
knocks it down.
Pass batted down by Cooper Rush, and DeMeco Ryans just bringing that dog energy. If we're being honest, just absolute dog energy.
I'm a dog.
Did you see that? Shout out to Gucci Mane. By the way, did you see that? Did you see that feature on DeMeco Ryans from his hometown in Alabama?
I did not catch that. That was on the broadcast.
Yeah, so I'm the biggest Gucci Mane fan in the world. Like it's just it's pretty obsessive. It's been going back probably like 15, 20 years, whatever. Like back then. It's kind of a little different now. So they say that he's from Benmore, Oklahoma too. Dude, he left when he was like 7 or 8 or something like that and went to Atlanta. So that's a little bit much that they're giving him credit for that. But yeah, they did like a whole DeMeco. I guess he had to lead a sermon when he was a kid. At his church. Yeah, he had to lead a sermon. It was actually a pretty good feature by ESPN. I thought it was good. Andy Singh has a question for your traveling Cody Stoots.
Let's see. Any good food trip in Dallas this trip, Stoots? I went to...
Oh, it's a Basset Hound too, the dog.
I went to Terry Black's yesterday. I had lunch, and it's very good. It's a top 50 barbecue spot, Texas Monthly. And what are you doing? What's that hand motion?
Pecan Lodge.
Didn't you tell me? Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't say Pecan Lodge was worse, but I did like
Pecan Lodge is better. And when you go to Pecan Lodge, here's what you do. If you want to cheat the system, when you go to Pecan Lodge, sit at the bar. There's going to be a line. Tell me you want to sit at the bar. Go sit at the bar. They got a good selection of craft beers. You'll look at the menu. You'll be like, damn, this is high. This is an arm and leg. Cheat the system. Burnt ends. The burnt ends is actually better than the brisket. It's the best thing they have. So go to Pecan Lodge, get the burnt ends, sit at the bar, consume some IPAs, some of the local brews that you would like to see, and there you go. Don't follow his lead. Bad ideas.
Well, I went to Pecan Lodge last time I was here.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So
Did you get burnt ends? Did you get burnt ends?
that is one of my things why I like Pecan Lodge more than Terry Black's. Terry Black's has your typical barbecue fare. They got your typical meats, your typical sides. There's nothing out there unique, super different. Whereas Pecan Lodge had all sorts of
they mix it up.
They had like fried ribs the time I was there.
The fried rib is better than that. Like you get a fried rib, you get some burnt ends. Dude, the fried rib is off the hook. Yeah, see, you know what you're doing at Pecan Lodge.
So then to answer more of Andy's question, I was like looking, okay, like let me see what are these other Dallas barbecue spots, like in addition to Pecan Lodge and Terry Black's. They're only open on like the weekends. Like,
yeah, I can take you to one in the hood. My boy Harp used to take me to like a big time one where they only give you the crackers. There ain't no bread, just give you the crackers. Nice. Put them on there.
I was gonna go to this, like the number, I think it was the number 1 or number 2 on the Texas Monthly list, Goldie's, but it's not open till the weekend.
Yeah, Goldie's isn't bad. The thing about Dallas, and I was talking to Alexander yesterday. Shout out to Jonathan Alexander, Houston Chronicle. Him and Sam are doing a really good job as a duo. I'm enjoying that duo. I miss Brooks, but I think those guys are doing an excellent job. But I was talking to Alexander going to Dallas, and he asked what he's. I guess his wife's Hispanic, and she had like a Mexican restaurant that she wanted to try there, which seemed like kind of a place like upper end ish. It's not one of my go-tos. I remember that Mexican restaurant I used to take you to that was only cash.
Yes.
Only cash, and it's open till like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that one went in, but there's like also some chains, but I recommended Cane Rosso pizza, and Alexander went and have it. He said it was off the hook. And then I recommended, if you ever want the best cookies or the best treats, and oh man, this limeade is like crack. This homemade lemonade. JD Chippery. You go to JD Chippery out there in Highland Park. Just go get you cookies. They got the whole thing. Best homemade cookies ever, brownies, all that type of stuff, muffins. But the lemonade is like crack. JD Chippery. There's also a place called New York Sub right there. They kind of started taxing folks, but it's good as well. So there you go. There's some Dallas food wrecks. I got you covered wherever you go there. M3 is clear number 3 wide receiver. That's what Rick says. Is he talking about Mechie?
Oh, yeah, John Mechie the third.
Oh, okay. John Mechie the third. Okay. Clear number 3. Yeah. I mean, what's his competition? Woods?
Hutchinson?
What's his competition? Woods?
There's not a lot of competition there.
I do think that there's something to be said, though. Like, if Mechie is going to provide the intermediate route, I think especially with the way this offensive line blocks, I think that's very valuable. And I think that's something that Mechie can figure out as time goes on. The bar's really low. Like his over-under yesterday in receiving yards, I think was 17. And he ended up surpassing that. But yeah, the wide receiver depth is kind of an area of concern. I mean, they told you that in the offseason when they traded for Stephon Diggs. So yeah, I would say he's number 3. I don't know if that's great. I don't know if that's like the ideal. This guy's a good, like if you put Jonathan Mechie against the rest of the wide receiver 3s, I don't think he stacks up awesomely, but he's definitely playing better and he's playing his best. And maybe it's something to build on. Nathan Palmer says, I'm glad we got fans here in North Texas. Yeah, there was a lot of traveling Texans. The stands were kind of dominated by the Texans. You could tell DeMeco kind of appreciated that as well.
Yeah, the loudest moments were when the Texans did good things.
This is a response to Mechie being wide receiver 3. Come on, man.
Oh, it's not like that.
Come on, Space City. Are we doing this? He says that's like a Goomba saying a Goomba Wale's number 2. Come on. What'd you make of the fake punt? John Mechie gotta tackle the fake punt. That was a goofy play. Like, even if the Texans hadn't been ready for it, that ball sailed so long in the air and like had so much, like they had time to just swarm the ball, even had they been caught off guard.
I can't imagine why you would throw a pass to a potentially not open receiver that's before the line, before the first down. Like I don't know how you I don't know how you throw that pass like and run that play or run your fake punt play where you don't get the guy beyond the sticks.
That Fossil fella is such a bit. Like he is like Bones Fossil special teams. Like he is that is one of the worst bits in the NFL.
I'm tired of old guys special teams.
Camera time.
I'm tired of old special teams guys. I'm tired of that guy.
No, that Steelers guy's awesome. You better
I'm
not.
tired of the Steelers guy.
That guy's awesome. He's good. Do not disrespect. I don't even know his name, so I'm kind of disrespecting him. Whatever that old ass Steelers special teams coach is freaking awesome. Do not disrespect the old Steelers special teams coach. I will not have this, Cody.
Danny Smith is his name.
I'm good.
Tired of him.
He's good.
I'm tired of him. He looks like the basketball coach from that Adam Sandler animated movie.
Frank Ross, his special teams have been pretty good too, though.
You see Frank Ross freaking out when Mechie made that play? That was great.
Yeah. Frank's the special teams kind of got off to a roughish start. They were able to overcome some mistakes, but special teams are back where they are. Tommy Townsend, what do you make of Tommy Townsend? He punted his ass off. I think he was at, 53, 54 yards per punt. There's a lot of hype going on out there for a punter, man. He's getting a little crazy out there. Is that too much hype for a punter? Is Man Bun getting a little crazy out there?
Like, does he bring too much energy to the spot?
It's a lot of juice, man. It's a lot of juice. I respect it. It's a lot of juice, though.
Well, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, he pushed a referee that almost ran into him. And the referee tried to push him back.
Tommy gets kind of cranked up. For someone that's so mild-mannered, he gets really, really. Hey, if he's going to punt like that, though, and he's found his groove.
What was it?
Cranked up.
It was one of the first couple of games where he had the choice words for
preseason.
Oh, it was preseason. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Hall of Fame game.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess it was the Hall of Fame game.
It was his first game. It was a Hall of Fame game. He was up there talking crap.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, like his folks were in attendance. I saw Randy McIlroy took a picture with them, and
what
he I don't know. He showed up and showed up.
What did he do? Did he post it?
I mean,
Randy McIlroy, KPRC, the great Randy McIlroy, one of the most favorite people in town.
Not only did he post it, he posted it twice. Once to say, hey, Tommy Townsend's folks are in town. Then he said, hey, Tommy Townsend's folks, and then he put their names in the tweet.
What? You're making this up, bro.
I'm not making this up.
You're making this up. He took a picture with Tommy Townsend's parents.
Yeah.
I love the local TV bit. Let me see this. Shout out to the great Randy.
Yeah, Randy McIlroy. I got it for you. Hold on. I got it for you.
He took a selfie with oh my goodness. Oh, and he got in the pic. It wasn't even like, hey, y'all take this. Look at that.
Great time pregame catching up with Texans punter Tommy Townsend's family.
Okay. Love me a good local TV. Okay.
So here's my question. Tommy Townsend's family, Clay and Susan. I'm assuming that are his parents. I guess his brother, like the other guy in the picture.
Look at that. Look at that Townsend customized too. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they have that on NFL Shop.
Let's see. You can customize it. Figure it out. MHW Nation, good morning to you. Happy Reaction Monday. That fake punt was worse behind the James Warren swinging door play back in 2009. What about the under center play with the Colts and Patriots that one time?
Oh yeah. That was McAfee, right?
I'm not sure. It might have been.
I think it was.
It might have been. Love me a good fake punt. By the way, don't sleep on a fake punt for the Texans this year. Tommy Townsend's athletic.
I thought. Oh, what?
You thought they were going to return the fake punt?
What?
Yesterday, you thought they were going to try to fake punt too?
Yes, I did. I'm trying to remember.
I did too.
I'm trying to remember which drive it was that I was thinking, "Ooh, this is a nice little fake punt time."
Yes.
Hold on, let me find it here. Oh, it was their next to last drive in the first half.
Yeah.
It was 4th and 3 on the Houston 49. And I was like, this kind of feels like fake punt territory.
Yeah,
They didn't.
I thought so too. I think it's going to happen eventually.
I don't think you fake punt against a team like the Cowboys. I think you fake punt against a better team.
Yeah, they make me so nervous though, man.
They're very scary.
I
I prefer the throw fake punt as well as opposed to the run fake punt.
Yeah, the run fake punt. I think you might just still think it'd have a little bit of Justin Reed PTSD. Someone brought this up. Dalton Schultz, his troll job at the Cowboys on Instagram. This was Dalton Schultz on his Twitter and on his IG.
The Houston Texans are the best team in Texas. Well done, Dalton Schultz.
Oh, okay.
Shout
out to Dalton Schultz with the shade.
He clearly pre-produced this and had this ready.
Oh, it was ready.
Because
it was on standby.
Because he didn't wake up this morning and put that together. He had that pre-produced and ready.
Yeah. Dalton is very, very bitter about the Cowboys. I've asked him about it, man. Like he's very, very bitter. About the way stuff went down, the way he was treated. I think I don't think he'll he was, how there's always kind of an easy target, even when other things are going wrong. I feel like Dalton Schultz a lot of time was kind of the easy target if the Cowboys would lose a game. The San Francisco game, it wasn't a great end to his time as a Cowboy. He had the drop, and then he stepped out of bounds on another catch. But I think he got a lot of crap for it. So he's just kind of hates the Cowboys. He won't. I don't know if he'll openly admit that, but I think he hates them.
Doing the coffee.
Yeah, he kind of confirmed it. I don't have to assume it with that. That's kind of
he doesn't need to say the words "I hate the Cowboys." We got it.
Yeah, he did his thing. What'd you make of the tight end production? They're not asked to do a lot. They caught 9 of 11 carries. I don't like the shovel pass to Dalton Schultz. That was a little bit weird. But
I think it was you that tweeted. That's something you only do when you have a really good offensive line.
Wasn't me.
Oh.
Yeah, I just kind of ignored that. I pretended that didn't happen. That was a little weird.
Maybe that's
put me in a weird spot.
Maybe Kunkel said that to me when I was sitting next to him. Anyway,
yeah, me and Kunkel. Me and Kunkel, just the exact same guy, exact same vibe.
Race car.
Well, that has nothing to do with race. It was a smart football take, so I was trying to assign it to one of the smarter football minds.
Okay, whatever.
Some dumbass doesn't say that.
The tight end production though, no concern, whatever. Not asked to do a lot.
Dalton Schultz led the team in catches. He was
feels like there's more there, man. Feels like there's more there.
Yeah,
he did surpass his total, his receiving total, which was 29. So, yeah, he handled his business there.
Yeah, he as well as Stover kind of played the safety valve role. There were a couple of plays where it looked like the tight ends just fit in behind some of the wide receivers, as far as the way the route design is put together. And that feels like a Nico Collins effect type thing.
Yeah, Troy went crazy on one. There was a 3-yard gain to Cade Stover. It actually I know the play was going this way, but Pierce was kind of on the sidelines. If Stroud had had to improvise or something, he could have probably walked into the end zone. I think it was the play before Pierce's first carry. But Troy Aikman was incredibly, with that QBI, he was incredibly impressed that CJ Stroud went through the progressions and then picked up 3 yards instead of getting sacked to Cade Stover. So it did seem like there was a little bit more of a dump off option. It got Troy somewhat giddy, somewhat football giddy for such a moderate gain. Small things though. The Nico Collins pitch count. Nico Collins returns kind of on a pitch count. I think they're playing it safe with Nico. No
DeMeco
problem.
Ryans so funny about this. He was so funny about this
What did he
because
say? Oh, no, we weren't on a pitch count.
well, he got asked about it, and initially he started his answer with, "Yeah, well, we're really happy with what Nico brought to the table in his production, and he did a good job for us," and then he kind of was like, "No, it's his first week back. He's not gonna get the full workload." It's like he didn't want to say he was on a pitch count, but he finally admitted it. He's like, "All right, yeah, it's fine if I say that." Like first week back, he's not gonna be on the full workload. Like he just kind of threw it in there at the end of his comment. I mean, because he got asked about Collins a couple times before. Ultimately, he said no full workload, and you got to imagine Nico's like, "I'm good to go," especially after the comments last week, last week leading up to this game. We're like, "Yeah, I probably could have gone last week. That was the decision that the organization made, not me." So I'm sure he wanted a little bit more. I know a lot of people wanted a little bit more out of Nico Collins, but hey, ramp him up and get him ready for these next two games.
Yeah, you're able because of the division you're in. And if the draft were today, just to put this in perspective, the next two teams the Texans are facing would have the 1 and 2 pick.
Oh,
the Jags and Titans. So that's how bad they are. You're in a situation right now in this division, and the Colts aren't worth a damn either, where you can err on the side of caution with your really good players. That's just kind of what you have.
Well, and they didn't really. I mean, it wasn't like they were sitting there and it was like some dire situation where it's like, man, we got to play Nico more than we thought we had to play Nico because we're not getting it done here. Like that wasn't the situation either.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Where would this team be without Joe Mixon? It's a fair question. He kind of set the tone early. 2 touchdowns, nearly 70 yards rushing in the first quarter. Ended up with 3 TD. Where would this team be without Joe Mixon?
Am I overreacting to say you could flip their record and they'd be 4-7 without Joe Mixon?
I mean, maybe CJ Stroud is kind of able to overcome the obstacles. I do think there's been a luxury with Joe Mixon, and you did win some games without Joe Mixon. So we have seen them at least find ways to win. But I think that even with Saquon Barkley, and I think Saquon is having as good of a year as Joe, I just think for what this team needs and what they need to overcome, and where a lot of these guys are at the point in their career where they still might be the foundation of the squad, but it's still nice to have someone to lean on who's been there, done that, and is really, really willing, able, and excited about kind of leading these young guys. I think that there's just the Joe Mixon element is something that cannot be minimized. And I think Joe Mixon has been incredible with this squad. I'm going to say this right now. And I know you guys are the ones who vote on this. Never mind. I won't. We'll wait for this. There's a lot of season. There's a lot of season left.
Well, you advocate for All Pro Joe?
No. I already advocated for Captain Joe. My work's there, but it's a much smaller thing that I want to advocate for.
Offensive Player of the Year?
No.
Well,
He deserves the good guy award in the locker room, man. He is the most accountable.
I'll be making that push.
He is the most accountable. I know CJ got it last year, but I think, he's intense, and he will call someone out if there's a dumb question. But as far as being available, as far as speaking for the team, as far as talking, as far as embracing what the obligations are of the gig and what it takes from a public perspective and everything, I think Joe Mixon deserves the good guy award at this point. He could snap on someone and he could refuse to speak. Who knows? He's an emotional guy, but I think at this point, I'm already going to take credit for getting the C on his chest. I think Joe Mixon needs to be the good guy award guy too at the end of the season with all you pro football writers.
He went for 8 minutes last night in post game.
Yeah, we'll hear that in a sec.
I mean, he was really good too.
Yeah, good teammate. Yeah. Good quote. Good guy.
I mean, and there are some days where there's nobody in the locker room and Joe Mixon's there, and it's like, all right, we're talking to Joe Mixon. And he's like, all right, what do you got?
He's the man. Shout out to him.
I mean, I really do believe they're a 4-7 football team without Joe Mixon. I mean, obviously they had a couple of wins without him with Jacksonville and Buffalo. But I don't know that they beat the Colts week 1 without Mixon's performance. They probably still beat the Patriots with or without him. But yeah, they're a 4-win football team, maybe a 5-win football team if they don't have Joe Mixon.
Yeah, there's zero doubt about that. It is Reaction Monday here on SNL. Landry Locker, Cody, Stoots. We'll hear from Joe Mixon coming up in about 10 minutes. Aaron Wilson was in the scrum. But back to the super chat. Is Juice Scruggs miss assignments or just flat out get beat? Yes. I would say yes.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, he's struggling right now. They gotta figure that out with him. I think he's gonna be willing. He's gonna have the right mindset. I don't think his confidence is shook or anything like that. It's not like a seeing ghost type of situation with Kenyon Green. But the struggles are very apparent when it comes to Juice Scruggs. You don't have to be a former offensive line. I thought it was funny how not funny, enlightening, however you want to describe it. How Jason Kelce. By the way, ESPN's Sunday Night Countdown. It's good, man. Now that they've replaced RG3 with Jason Kelce, and you have Kelce, Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, Van Pelt, elite. I don't know what they're doing on Sunday night with Jason Garrett in studio. That's kind of weird, but it's elite. But Jason Kelce said that Joe Mixon's actually making stuff happen despite the offensive line. So it's one thing for some skinny fat dude to say that and me, but when you have one of the best centers of all time that puts work into studying this, saying that, I think that's kind of telling when it comes to the offensive line.
Mixon's been, I mean, he's obviously been fantastic and sets the tone. And your point about what the Texans need, like Barkley's been really good, obviously.
He's been great. He's been fantastic. But go ahead.
The physicality that Joe Mixon has, I feel like it really adds to what the Texans need from that position.
I think there's like a different like intangible factor which has kind of been embraced, and you can actually kind of feel it with Joe Mixon. And he's also been where Saquon hasn't been. Like the Eagles, like the core of the Eagles locker room, they've been where Saquon wants to go. So Saquon's fitting in. He's a nice piece. He might be first team all pro. He's phenomenal. Like it would be crazy not to think that this offense would not have extra elements with Saquon, specifically maybe in the pass game and everything. But Philadelphia has been kind of knocking on the door for a while. So their core guys, they've lost the Super Bowl. They've been on that scale. Saquon with the Giants, I think they've won one playoff game, and I think they've only made the playoffs once, if I'm not mistaken, maybe twice. I don't know, but he hasn't been there. So he's trying to get where they're going. The Texans core, on the other hand, is really young. They're wet behind the ears, especially with Stephon Diggs out. Joe Mixon has been there. He's been to AFC Championship games. He's been to the Super Bowl. So he's already been where you're trying to go. It's like if you went to let's say you went to the water park by Jerry World, Hurricane Harbor. I'm very familiar with it. Love Hurricane Harbor. Used to get dropped off there. Enjoyed it. Lazy River, a little bit dirty, but it happens. It happens. Yeah, very, very, very dirty. Seems like there's a lot of sex going on, and it was kind of traumatic as a kid. But I digress. But like, there's like 3 big ass slides at Jerry World. One of them is big and brown. It kind of goes up, and then you go down, and then there's 2 really, really big white ones. And you can always see when you go up to those big ass slides, like when you make the wave up there, you can see the little kid who's never done it scared. And sometimes you see kids walking back down because they don't want to go down that slide because it's a scary experience. It's traumatic. All that actually used to be a spaceship where the carpet would drop and you would just completely fall down the ship. So I think someone broke his arm or got his arm ripped off or something like that. My dad made me write it. Anyways, Joe Mixon is the kind of guy that when he goes up there with you, I think if Saquon goes up there with you, I think he's going to show you how to do it, and it's going to look impressive, and maybe you can follow the lead. Joe Mixon's the guy that's going to push you down that slide, and then he's going to go down right after you, and he's going to make you overcome some. Like the extra kick and the extra intangibles and the extra energy that Joe Mixon brings, I think it's something that this Texans team needs. And I actually think, while on one hand you can say Saquon was plan A, if Joe Mixon were available, I think that this is the kind of guy that DeMeco Ryans would have wanted even more than Saquon Barkley because of all those things and because of all those elements. He was not available when they were pursuing Saquon Barkley. He became available after that initial push of the running back market. So I think he's just been what the doctors ordered. It's not your typical fallback plan because he wasn't even available when they were pursuing running backs, but he's just perfect.
And hearing the way Joe Mixon talks about DeMeco Ryans' relationship with him and how much Ryans leans on him and fires him up and talks about how essential and important he is to the team. Like it does feel like, if you could just pick the running backs out of a lineup, that he would have picked Joe Mixon, to your point, because that was the pivot. I mean, they had some excellent pivots this offseason, from Saquon Barkley to Joe Mixon, from Eric Armstead to Danielle Hunter and Tim Settle. Like, they've had some excellent pivots this past offseason.
Yep. And they've been able to do that. They've been able to adjust. They've been able to make do. But there is still the offensive line. And I've pivoted there to where I just don't expect much from them. Just overcome whatever happens. I think it's very clear that when CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans go up there and they get defensive, they're not doing it for themselves. I think CJ Stroud can handle the criticism. He went to freaking Ohio State. I think DeMeco Ryans can handle the criticism. But when CJ Stroud goes up there and he says, we're about building up, we're not about, tearing down, or DeMeco Ryans says, we need to focus on positive stuff, I think that they know that they are not going to be able to tough love this offensive line for whatever reason. Y'all can get into whatever you want to get to and the reasons why. It can be a talent thing, whatever. But I don't think they think they're going to be able to tough love this offensive line into being any better. I think they feel that they have to kind of, for lack of a better term, have the kid gloves with this offensive line. And I think based on what we've seen, we have a large enough sample size. I think that's just realistic expectations and the way in which this offensive line is going to respond.
Yeah, fix is not in the vocabulary for this offensive line. It's make do with this offensive line for the rest of the season. They only allowed 1 sack yesterday to the Cowboys. It was only the second time this season they've allowed less than 2 sacks. The other time was against Buffalo, and if you remember, Buffalo was missing Von Miller in that matchup. It's the first time since week 4 that the pressure percentage allowed by the offensive line was below 40%. And it was an improvement from last week against Detroit, where, again, it was above 40%. And obviously they had the 4 sacks, allowed just a handful of pressures in this one. There were still some plays where CJ Stroud, there was one play that I can remember. He had to get his foot out of a tackle, had to kind of like shake loose of a tackle with his foot and kind of roll out and try to make the play happen. There's still a couple of, there was the play where Overshown just flew through the offensive line. Nobody touched him. Like, that can't happen. So there's still some moments from this offensive line that you would want a little bit more, but yeah, there's no fix. It's make do. They've got to make do with these guys. They can worry about fix in the offseason, but they've got to make do with what they've got. And however they need to make do and however they need to talk about them to make do what they need to do to get it to that point.
Yeah, they're not whipped cream. They're more ranch dressing. I would say it's a reference. You want me to just explain this reference?
They're not whipped cream. They're more ranch dressing.
You got to make do. Yeah. So I'll explain this. So one of my favorite reality shows of all time, I think it's very underrated. It's called 3-6 Mafia Adventures in Hollywood. And there was a guy on there. There were 2 guys that were assistants. One of them I was on a live stream with yesterday. Computer, big Cowboys fan, Cowboy Computer. I was on the live stream yesterday with him, and there was Big Treese. And Big Treese had a girlfriend named Sugarfoot. And Sugarfoot was a freak in the sheets. And she wanted some whipped cream so they could get freaky in the bedroom, but they didn't have whipped cream. So the offensive line is kind of like ranch dressing. I will show you this. And a lot of you don't know this existed. This is an absolute classic. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, get it. The offensive line.
What am I watching?
Dude, it's PG.
Oh, is he up?
No.
Did he get anything to eat at the restaurant? I got fried chicken and he don't
Tell
really.
you what. Who do I need to see to get a can of aerosol whipped cream? I might need to go to church in the morning.
I think I got a couple of ranch dressings left around here from some chicken nuggets, but I ain't
You
got
gonna put a
none.
little sugar in it? Where's the sugar? I'm put a little bit in the bowl.
Here goes sugar right here.
In the bowl?
It's cane sugar.
I can deal with it.
You know what you're doing?
Look, this may be the West Coast, but I'm from the South Side.
Do what you do, baby. She said all she needs some ranch dressing, some sugar, and a fork, and she finna make whipped cream out of it.
Can I give y'all an assignment for tomorrow?
Uh-huh.
Aerosol whipped cream.
Oh, my God.
And he'll be so docile when I get done.
You got ranch dressing, sugar. I mean, you know how to make whipped cream.
No, I don't know how to make whipped cream, but I know how to make do.
I don't know how to make an offensive line, but I know how to make do. That's where the Texans are right now. Shout out to Sugarfoot. Shout out to 3-6 Mafia. Shout out to Computer.
I mean, if this doesn't show you that you're never going to get any sort of Texans coverage anywhere else like this, within the span of
you don't think that's a good analogy? You're not going to make whipped cream. You got to make do.
Yeah, no.
There's some method to the madness. There's some method to the madness. You're not going to make whipped cream. You got to make do.
It fits, and that's why I'm giving you a compliment. It fits. Within the span of 10 minutes, we had young Landry traumatized at the water park, but a fantastic Joe Mixon is tough and makes you tougher water park analogy. And then we had a callback to a show that probably only Landry and 15 other people watched that perfectly fit where the Texans offensive line is. And that is stuff you will not get anywhere else.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
Me
neither.
I think if you really think about it, you might sit there and say, what's going on? But if you really think about it, that's where they are at with the offensive line.
And that's look, I just said the words. You can't fix it. You got to make do, and then you have the make do ready.
Shout out to everyone coming through. We'll hear from Joe Mixon in a sec. By the way, I made a discovery this morning. I didn't even know this existed. So I haven't been drinking this year. I haven't drank all off season. I can't promise that I haven't been on that
high-grade marijuana.
No promises
called
there.
Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
But
Now I do. Neither.
I've been on this Mountain Dew Baja Blast Zero. Only the Super HEB has it. It's very hard to find. The Zero. I can't have like 250 calories per drink.
7 grams of sugar.
But I just came across this. I didn't even know this existed. This is a Mountain Dew Zero Purple Thunder. Purple Thunder. How about that?
Oh, they got all sorts of
I didn't even know that exists.
They got all sorts of zeros. They got Code Red Zero.
Yeah, I didn't know they had that. I sweat purple like the Gatorade commercial. He watching Steve Urkel. Here is Space City Ballers. Funniest analogy was when Titus said he was being targeted. I think Tunsil said that. I don't know. Did Titus say it? Are you talking about after the Vikings game, maybe? And Seth said that's like an
8-time felon getting pulled over and saying they were looking for it.
Okay. Yeah. Seth can bring some analogy. He swings a lot. But Seth can definitely get some analogies. We'll get to Bobby in a second. We got some stuff for Bobby. I get it. There's still people that aren't too pleased with.
Damn it, Bobby.
Bobby Slowik. By the way, there was a change from Bobby Slowik. I don't know if all y'all noticed that. We'll talk about that in a sec. But first, let's hear from Joe Mixon. Some of that big Mix energy. He held court yesterday. Aaron Wilson, KPRC, was on the scene. Let's hear what Mix had to say.
The numbers. I mean, to be honest, I'm just trying to be the best the best player that I am for the team. I mean, all that other stuff, don't get me wrong, it is cool. But without them guys, there ain't no me. So I'm just thankful that, with the opportunity given, I just been making the most of it. And them guys, they just bought in with the run game and doing whatever they can to open the holes. And I just doing whatever I can to, pretty much stay in sync with them boys. So, I mean, man, I tip my hat off to them boys. They go hard for 4 quarters and, just going out there and trying to impose their will. It's a great thing to see from, the linemen. It's a hell of a thing. I just, as a running back, I appreciate that, especially with us being in sync.
So who's taking who to dinner? The line, or are they going to take you out?
Oh man, I mean, them boys was talking about me, but I'm like, I'll take them out before they take me out, man. I just told them boys we ran out of soap. Jerry Jones wasn't messing with us. You feel me? So I ended up having an extra, water soap, and all them boys like, man, I ain't got no soap. I'm like, shit, that's what I might get y'all next week. I might grab y'all boys a bottle of soap. So, I think that just the chemistry that we build in on and off the field, it's a great thing, and we just got to keep it going, man. Like I said, it was a great team win, and we just got to keep on building.
The mentality sideline for the offense when you see them play football, that was able to do what people do.
Yeah, man. I mean, DB gave us a huge lift. You know what I'm saying? It was a huge takeaway. He even finished with, 6 points. He was like, man, I'm on the board just like you. I'm like, shit, do it again. It was a great thing to see. But, just guys going around having fun and playing with each other, like in terms of 11 on 11 and everybody going and just gelling. That's a great thing to see. And obviously it's the start of something special. So we just got to keep on taking it one play at a time and one game at a time. And I think that we can hit a stride right now, and I think it's crucial. Right now we started, and obviously we just try to do whatever we can to keep the momentum rising. And like I said, with us saying get care of business tonight, we just got to go out there again on Sunday and keep stacking.
DeMeco said that when you're on, you could be a force for the Texans.
No doubt.
How good does it feel to know that, not the offense goes as you go, but that DeMeco views you as such a vital piece of the offense?
Yeah, man. I mean, since day one, when I got in the office with DeMeco, I ain't never been embraced the way that he embraced me. And also, with him telling me pretty much the style that I fit with this offense, it just worked hand in hand. And, the relationship that we have, bro, it's a great thing. When the head ball coach, leaning on his running back to, pretty much put us in great position. And also with the young quarterback, doing whatever I can to help him out. I think it's been a hell of a thing. And obviously, I think that CJ going to hit strides to where, with Neek being back, it's going to open up the whole entire offense. So I know for a fact that as long as he doing his thing and I'm doing my thing with the O-line, keeping the boys ready, trying to make them boys hit strides and keep that mentality, for 4 quarters, I think we're going to be in great shape, man. So it's a great thing for them, putting one together. But like I said, I think we got to hit a stride right now and pretty much try to do whatever we can to make a statement each and every week. Like, we belong, and that's what we got to do.
Where does this hat trick fall in for us, your overall professional accomplishment?
Say that one more time.
Where does this hat trick, the 3 touchdowns, where does it fall in for us, your professional accomplishment?
I think all the stat stuff is cool. One thing I appreciate that I'm able to be in this position, but when it comes down to it, it's a team effort. And without, the linemen blocking, the fullbacks and tight ends, even the receivers going in and making huge blocks, bro. Like I said, them boys, they all bought in. And one thing I could do is just appreciate, their will and want to for key blocks down the field, man, and big blocks in the box. So, for me, I just got to keep on setting the tone, keep on having the boys fired up and keep finishing. I think that, like I said, we're in a great position where we at right now, man. So just got to keep on stacking.
So like you said, stats are not as important as wins and the team concept, but you are in company with some great backs, the O.J. Simpsons, the Aaron Fosters, the Jim Browns, the Priest Holmes.
Yeah.
Just, as you're a student of history, to be mentioned with those guys, does that mean something to you just to have that honor?
It's a great thing. Like I said, the stats is
history.
When you look back and be able
I guess
to
3 touchdown games.
I was in that conversation. I'm probably look back like, damn, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Even now, it's a hell of an accomplishment. But like I said, bro, like without my teammates, being locked in and bought into the run game and Coach Slow pretty much trusting us and doing whatever we can to keep on dialing it up, man, everybody being in sync with each other, bro, like it wouldn't happen. So I'm just gonna keep playing my role and doing whatever I can to keep the offense going, staying on the offensive lineman, making sure their mindset, will and want to, and their attitude is there. And CJ, he gonna lock in with them receivers, bro. So like I said, it's a hell of a thing that he was able to come out with the dub today, represent for Texas, and now it's time to turn the chapter. We're gonna celebrate tonight and get ready, for I believe Tennessee next week.
Yeah, there you go. So that's Joe Mixon. Just a godsend, as a lot of people are describing, and really the energy. I must Paneline ask a question. We'll get to that in a second, but you have some thoughts on Mix.
I have that stat that Aaron was referencing with the OJ Simpson, Jim Brown. So, with 90 scrimmage yards and a rushing touchdown, Mixon could have become the 5th player in NFL history to record that stat line or better in 7 of his first 8 games of a season, joining Jim Brown, OJ Simpson, Priest Holmes, and LaShawn McCoy as the only other running backs to do that.
Yep.
So obviously he got that.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the only time that OJ Simpson and Jim Brown have been in the same company as a Priest. So you also have that as well. It's a unique stat. Cody Stoots, Landry Locker.
It's not the only time you said they were in the same company as Shady.
Well, that balcony was pretty high. We'll move on. I must Pandaline says, does Joe Mixon get 1,200 yards? He's at 764 with 6 games left. See, I think at the end of the year, especially if the seating is set, he's probably someone that you want to rest at the end of the season. So could I see him getting it? Hell, I could see him getting it in 4 games. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that, but I don't see him playing 6 games. I see them kind of resting him at the end of the year, especially if seating is lined up, and it looks like the division will be lined up.
So he's got 1,200. He's at 764. So he needs 436, and we'll call it 5 games because I don't believe he'll play against Tennessee in the final week. So he needs 87 rushing yards a game over the next 5. He's averaging 96 a game, I think. So he's going to be pretty close to that.
Yeah,
he's going to be pretty close to that if my funky math is correct.
All right, let's get to it. This was the most polarizing topic the last few weeks.
Damn it, Bobby.
What do we make of Bobby Slowik's performance against the Dallas Cowboys? The touchdown drought ended. Now Derek Barnett ended it, and then the offense got in there as well. It kind of seemed like they were trying to do it.
The offensive touchdown drought ended, yes.
Yes, the offensive touchdown drought did end. What do we make of the hatless one? Bobby Slowik, no hat yesterday. First time that he hasn't worn a hat.
You mentioned it. I was going to say my hat's off to Bobby Slowik. Look, this is one of those situations where we've talked about the offensive line. Like they were better than last week, and regardless of how much improvement there was, they needed to be better than last week. I would say the same thing about Bobby Slowik. He was better than he has been the past few weeks. I felt like there were some no-brainer moments where he didn't overthink it. And I do feel like he used the luxury of a bigger lead to try some things that maybe he wouldn't have tried in a closer game. For instance, throwing on 3rd and 1. I don't know that he does that against, say, the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs or something like that. But hey, it's the Dallas Cowboys. You want to try to get Tank and CJ Stroud a nice connection, and they would have if Stroud had hit the pass. But he was better. He was better than he has been the past few weeks. He got, that Tunsil penalty, and then to still call a touchdown drive, it goes to that thing that you've talked about where he comes into a game very prepared and has some excellent starts to games, because to call that play, it gets called back. It feels like most of the time a penalty like that just erases any chance of them moving the football or getting first downs, much less a score, and they end up getting the score. So it's a really good job, but he was better than he has been. It was a great no. Did they still have some hiccups and some issues there in the second half? With coming out of halftime, certainly the offensive scoring drought got to 24 possessions before they scored the touchdown, or before the touchdown drought got to 24 possessions in a row on offense before they finally got that touchdown from Mixon there at the end. So, but he was better. And again, showing improvement was one of the biggest keys to Bobby Slowik's job in this game, was show improvement over Bobby. He did.
I thought he called a better game than the stats showed. Do I think it was flawless? There was some complaint about the 3rd and 1 throw. It almost felt like they were kind of working on stuff in the fourth quarter. But that 4th down where they went for it, that was a touchdown quality, at least chain moving play to Nico Collins. CJ Stroud misfired. He admitted as much. You heard Troy Aikman talk about it. That was his interception. And then the slant to Joe Mixon that went out. The only mistake that Joe Mixon made went off of his hands. That would have been a touchdown as well on 3rd down. So I thought the play calling was fine with Bobby Slowik. I thought it was good. Do I feel like that eliminates all of the concerns? No, but I think in this small little sample size, I thought Bobby Slowik did a good job. It was a step in the right direction, and I think the difference that Nico Collins makes was alive and well.
You could certainly see how this is going to be a heck of a lot easier for Bobby Slowik. That first Nico Collins catch that counted was that patented, hey, I trust Nico to get these yards. CJ, take 2 steps, put your foot in the ground and fire the ball to him and make it happen. And that's what they did. And to have that element, to have that Nico Collins threat open some things up for the underneath. You saw it go to the tight ends a couple of times, and sometimes Stroud can just make that decision quickly, and sometimes he had to kind of wait and scan and still make that decision. He's going to be much better at his job, and it's going to be much easier with Nico Collins there. And you saw some of that last night with what Nico Collins' impact does for Slowik and how it makes his job easier.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like moving forward. But I thought overall he had a good game.
And damn, he looks like Bobby Hill hit Pilates and grew up when he doesn't have his hat on. He looks just like Bobby Hill.
I've always been on the Bobby Slowik hat thing.
The hairline is like almost the same. Like, and look, I look like some unimpressive cartoon characters, but the hairline was damn near the same with no hat Slowik.
It's going to be interesting to see how Bobby Slowik does his thing moving forward. But yeah, there he goes.
Was wearing a hat leaving the stadium though.
Okay. Big L, is it cool to say CJ has happy feet or maybe a sophomore slump? Please discuss. Bobby said as much last week that CJ wasn't able to set his back foot at certain points this year. So yeah, I think the footwork is not where CJ would like it to be. I'm sure Gerard Johnson, the quarterback coach, and Bobby Slowik have kind of taken a look at that. I think there's a difference between happy feet and not being able to set your feet at times. But yeah, I don't think CJ Stroud is playing 100% comfortably, and I don't think his fundamentals are probably where he would like them to be, at least based on what the coaches are saying and what he said himself. So yeah, I think that's fair to say. A lot of times happy feet is that you're over anticipating pressure. I think a lot of times the pressure is actually there. But there have been times where maybe he's had a little bit more time to throw. I thought he did a better job stepping up just from this like simple QB POV. I think there were some times where Titus Howard maybe getting beat by Micah Parsons, and CJ did a really good job of stepping up and avoiding it. Maybe that has to do with better protection. Maybe that has to do with the fact that he's just aware of number 11 because they're like best friends or like brothers, and he knows where number 11 is. So he's stepping up to avoid him. But yeah, I don't think it's unfair to say that the footwork hasn't been where it's needed to be with CJ Stroud for whatever the reason.
Yeah, you could explain why that's the case a variety of different ways. Happy feet feels like what bad quarterbacks do when there's pressure. Stroud just keeps it moving because he has to keep it moving because of some of the pressure that he's dealt with over the past few weeks. And so it's it's not a bad quarterback trait. It's something he's had to deal with over the past few weeks. I think there's a very big differentiator.
For sure. Zach Rose says Texans were feeling Lassiter's absence. Okudah got melted. Let's get into that. Boy, that Turpin mix on Okudah, not great. Yeah, there's a big drop off from CB2 to CB3 and down. I thought Hallman did a good job. I thought he did a good job standing his ground. I think he was second on the team in tackles. He had 2 passes broken up. He was out there battling. But it's definitely a drop off when you talk about CB1 and 2 and down at cornerback. And Jeff Okudah's here for a reason. Like he's here for a reason. He's on his 3rd team after being a top 5 pick just a few years ago for a reason. So I don't think you can expect too much, but you definitely don't want him to be in the slot. And if he is going to be in the slot, probably stay a little bit more inside and don't give Turpin the middle of the field. But yeah, that's not a matchup you want with Okudah.
I mean, they got the exact right setup, the Cowboys did in that spot, and he just turned on the Jets, and Okudah got shown the bench, and Holman got his snaps after that. And there were a couple times where Kadar Holman had a play where he didn't even turn around. He just read the wide receiver's eyes and was able to put his hand up and knock the ball away and not get called for pass interference. And that was a really impressive play for a guy that has been here a couple of weeks. I know he played on the team last year, but he's been here a couple of weeks.
He's a fighter, man. He's a fighter.
He battles.
He's a 100% fighter. There's going to be limitations at corner, and that's a league-wide thing. Like once you start talking 3rd, 4th corners, they're kind of on an island. The roles are receiver friendly. The receiver usually has the advantage. They're on the attack and stuff. So you're not going to have like an elite. The days of like elite slot corners, maybe you can figure that out. But Jeff Okudah just looked lost. Hallman was out there fighting, and I think I'll put it this way: like if we're talking about guys who did the biggest favors for themselves after this game, to where the coaches are like pleased with what they did. Like if you were in a film session right now with DeMeco Ryans and Matt Burke, and the offensive staff is over there, I would say Hallman's near the top as far as guys who did favors for themselves and caught the attention of the coaches as far as maybe getting more of an opportunity.
Certainly.
Just for this game.
Especially because it seems like they didn't necessarily plan for him to have that workload. And then because they didn't like what they saw from Okudah, boom, they threw him in there.
Yeah, in Turpin, man, I don't know why they don't use him more. I know he's a Pro Bowler a couple of years ago. I know they look at him as kind of a kick returner, but
you know what I saw from one of the Cowboys reporters, I forgive me, I don't know who it was. That's the 2nd slant he has run all year long.
Wild. Wild. He's fast as hell, man. He is one of the fastest. What did he get up to? 23 miles per hour? He would have got it in the school zone.
It's one of the fastest runs of the season. It is the fastest?
The fastest, yes, is what I saw. 23 miles an hour. If there were a thirsty cop trying to meet that end of month quota, and we're creeping up on it. Like if this had been on November 29th, he might have got a ticket in the school zone. We're going at 23 miles per hour. Right now, the quota, you can still kind of meet it. So that's where it is. What do we make of the pieces of the roof falling out? The jokes kind of write themselves after the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. They decide they're going to open the roof. First time in a long time, by the way.
2 years, 2 years, 3 years?
The pieces of the roof fall during pregame.
I didn't see it, but then I saw that they were closing the roof, and I was like, well, that's strange because I thought the roof was going to be open. And then you started to see some of the pictures emerge. That's I don't know
that was a water slide.
Like, I don't even know if the pictures really do it justice to like show how big it was. And it was, sometimes with those panels, like, okay, like, it was easily a 2-person, probably could have been a 3-person job moving it, getting it out of the way. And the roof falling at AT&T Stadium in the middle of a Cowboys disaster season, it's very apropos. And then they contemplated opening the roof back up, but then they had to send a guy. There was a guy in the rafters, and I was watching him with my binoculars. There's a guy in the rafters that was taking down more pieces.
I saw that. That was scary. That was a little scary. I didn't know what was going on there.
Yeah, that I guess potentially could have fallen, but if that had fallen on somebody, it would have killed them.
Oh, that's bread right there. Assuming, well, if they live.
It's bread for their family because it would not. They would not have survived.
Yeah, that's a drop, man. That was bad. By the way, another winner last night. We talked about Hallman, and you're kind of, you're grasping for straws when it comes to bottom quarterback depth. Mike Tyson with the win yesterday too.
Explain.
Zeke Elliott's appearance made him the second most washed up athlete, not the most washed up athlete to perform at Jerry World the last few days. That ain't going away, buddy. Damn, Zeke Elliott made Mike Tyson look like 80s Mike Tyson. I don't know what they're doing there. My goodness.
That first play Zeke had, I think it was a catch.
Swing pass.
So, yeah. I thought he's moving in slow motion.
Dude, I wanted him so bad when they were down 20 after he moved the chains to do the feed me. I wanted it so bad.
He's had plenty of meals, so I'll say that.
Then we have the Texans crowd dominating Jerry World. What do we make of that? It kind of felt like this might have been more presence than some Texans home games. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just saying like it happens, but this did seem like the crowd can get loud. I'm not saying this is like 2 years ago, but this presence there was a lot of intensity there.
If they hadn't had a couple of stinkers in the weeks leading up, you might have had even more Texans fans. I wonder if there were some that canceled their plans or didn't attend, but it was very loud when the Texans had success. The loudest moments were all Texans positive plays, and they did a really good job making themselves known in that stadium. And then smattering in with the Cowboys fans were a lot of empty seats. So it's Texans fans, Cowboys fans, and then a lot of empty seats. And yeah, it was a really good performance by the crowd. I'll say 50-50. If you wanted to argue 60-40, I probably wouldn't argue much against you. And it felt like one of those games for the Cowboys that the Texans have gone through at times where the opposing fan base sort of took over.
It did. And I think DeMeco Ryans has appreciated. I feel like there's been some like nudges, like little hints from DeMeco that he wants a little bit more of a home crowd. I do feel like DeMeco's kind of like in a way kind of hinted the last few days. Hey, we need to crank it up a notch. We need to bring that heat. We need to drown out like the opposing crowd.
I mean, he's made no secret that the crowd noise helps that defense a tremendous amount, and it gives and if you're talking about energy and feeding off of things when the crowd gets involved. I mean, it was loud when Barnett and Pitre and then Barnett again did what they did. That gives that team energy and lets them feed off of it. And this is very much a team that as they kind of start to get dialed in a game, they build on themselves, especially defensively, really well. So the crowd helps that.
Yeah, and it was exciting. Now, I will say this. I think, whenever the Titans come to town or anything like that, it would be nice to have that same type of energy, Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit tougher to get up for Titans, but
what do you mean? It's the old Oilers, brother.
Yeah, not everybody cares that way, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's
if they were better, it'd be interesting. But
come on, you got to. I mean, it's the Titans, man. There's been that's the one that.
I mean, my argument would be you get 8 home games, you need to make the most of them. Doesn't matter who the damn opponent is.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be my argument.
Well, the next game, are you going to tell us the next game's the biggest game to coach?
No, I'm going to tell you that you only get 8 of them. Sometimes you get 9 of them, depending on how the schedule shakes out. But they're going to take that away and send you internationally one day. But you only get 8 of them. You should be cheering and screaming your head off on all 8 games.
I thought there were a couple of things early in this game that we'll touch on before we go on to Tennessee and Jacksonville, 2 worst teams in the league. Top 2 picks in the draft. If the draft were today, thank God there's no quarterback in this. I mean, Shador could maybe the Titans think about it.
So,
Maybe
no chance. No chance Deion lets him play in Tennessee.
you think?
No chance. Deion will pull a Manning if he doesn't like he will pull a Eli.
No, I know that,
like
but does Tennessee fall under the Manning?
He ain't letting him go to Tennessee.
I don't know.
Not when the Giants and the Raiders are right there.
Hell, if the Cowboys don't win another game, they might be right there.
If the Cowboys ain't taking Shedeur.
Yeah, they locked up Dak. Yeah, I don't know. But
if the Cowboys wanted to take I believe Deion will be heavily involved in keeping both Hunter and Shedeur away from the AFC South.
I could see that. Now, I will say this, though, and the only reason I'm bringing this up, I didn't want this to like turn into a Shedeur thing. We got plenty of time to get into all that. The reason I bring it up is because I think it's just good that this is not last season or the season before where the Titans could have a crack at a better quarterback. That's the only reason I'm saying it is that if two teams in your division are going to be near the top, we already know Jacksonville's all in on Trevor Lawrence and they're going to have a new coach and perhaps a new GM. But Tennessee, if they're going to run it back with Will Levis, I think everyone would welcome that. But it's good that there's not like an elite option. We don't know what Shedeur is going to be in the league, but that's the only reason I brought that up.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to have a shot at the only guy that's. I mean, maybe they take Cam Ward, but okay, sure.
Yeah. So couple of things I thought that kind of set the tone early. First of all, you had the Tunsil penalty, which eliminated the Nico Collins play. And you want to talk about frustration. Like this was like the perfect storm of the Texans level of optimism balanced with, I thought this was kind of symbolic of where we're at when it comes to the Texans. I know that they ended up scoring anyways, but I think this is just kind of symbolic where you have this hope for Nico and CJ in the defense, and CJ just goes back. Bobby calls the perfect play. Even in CJ Stroud just throws it right in Nico's chest. And we see that the Yak Daddy taking it to the house. And then all of a sudden, ineligible man downfield, number 78. Juvenile said it best. Back that ass up. And it gets wiped away. I thought that was kind of symbolic of where this team kind of is when it comes to the ultimate hope and the thing that's kind of holding you down.
I mean, I thought Townsend should start warming up right away. I mean, hell, I didn't think they were going to get a first down after that. Thankfully, the Cowboys give you a first down right away on 1st and 15 with a defensive holding, and then it's a script from there, and they ultimately get the touchdown on the big Mixon run. They what's Tunsil doing on that play? Like, I can't figure out what he thought he was supposed to do.
He knew immediately. I mean,
Nico got asked about that play, and he said, yeah, we worked on it last night. Like, you know how they have that walkthrough the night before? Yeah. It's like, yeah, we worked on that last night. We were ready for that. So, like, Tunsil knows what he's supposed to do.
And he knew. He immediately, like, you can see Tunsil going, damn me. But that, I just thought it was, I'm more focusing on the symbolism. I thought it was just symbolic of where this team is and what's going to drag them down even at the highest points of optimism. You're getting your best player back. Offensive coordinator is being criticized. He calls a perfect play to start the game. The guy makes a play. Your quarterback's starting off with 1 for 1 for 70 yards and a tutty. And that just kind of gets pulled back. Now, the good news is, and I think this is symbolic of the season as well, it is SNL Reaction Monday. Locker and Stoots Texans Talk on all podcast platforms. If you want to download it, subscribe to the Locker Room, subscribe to Cody's channel, HOU Football. We got you covered. Joe Mixon kind of set the tone in a disrespectful mode early on as well. You had Joe Mixon score the touchdown, and then you had Joe Mixon with the second touchdown where he throws the guy down to the ground and he tells him he's too little and then kind of celebrates. I thought Joe Mixon kind of bailing out offensive line mistakes and kind of calming down any frustration that fans had. I also thought that was kind of symbolic. So that was actually a really symbolic first quarter for the Texans where Joe Mixon calmed it down. The offensive line kind of killed the buzz. I thought that was a nice thing. And I think he set a tone, not just with his play, but with the extra stuff after the play.
was he trying to hit the Dion high step there as he was going in? And then he ended up with you're too small.
I actually thought it was effective. Like I think it helped him lift his legs up a little bit, probably a little bit. I mean, he was showing off.
We talk about the power with Joe Mixon and obviously how he can get yards that aren't there, but his willingness to cut it outside, change gears, and then put the pedal down and use the speed to get outside. I get so excited when he takes one that was, headed to the left and maybe takes it back outside to the right. Like, it's one of the more fun, exciting plays that Mixon is a part of, and he's fun to watch.
There was one play where it was at the end of the game. Mixon's going to the left, and he kind of bursts up, and then he ducks under the guy and picks up an extra few yards. Like, I'm just as impressed. Like, the long runs are awesome with Joe Mixon and the touchdown runs, but I'm just as impressed with when it looks like it should be a 2-yard loss and he turns it into like a 3 or 4 yard gain. I think those are just as important in like the big scheme of things when it comes to the offense. So I thought that was kind of symbolic. They did have kind of an early Christmas gift exchange as well early on. You had the Cowboys just pathetic attempt at a fake punt, which John Mechie was all over. Then you had CJ Stroud's gifted interception. And then you had Cooper Rush returning the favor to Derek Stingley. So they were just early on, like back and forth. There was just like ping pong of gift exchange between the team from Houston and the team from Dallas.
To end up with the end of the first quarter being 14-0 Texans, it was a really sloppy first quarter. Like there's a lot of sloppiness from the Texans. Obviously, they put the points on the board, and then the Cowboys, I mean, they are the kings of sloppy right now. But it was a pretty sloppy start to the game from both sides, and then the Texans kind of leveled out, and the Cowboys continued to be sloppy.
Gio Centro asked, do we need Pierce or Taylor carries to rest Mix? Do you need maybe like late in the season? Can you count on? Probably not.
JJ Taylor is going to need a job if he's going to help out because he's not on the team anymore.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah, he'll go. I mean, they'll put him back on the practice squad, and then if Damian Pierce gets hurt again, they'll sign him back to the active roster.
He'll be in camp next year for sure. He's definitely on standby. For sure. Can't even keep up with that.
Did we get to Preston super chat real quick?
Preston on the soupy. He talking about DeMeco wants the crowd like the Browns playoff game at every home game. Yeah, I mean, that would probably be nice.
I mean, hey, be a perennial. Oh, God, I got a cramp. Hold on. I'm dying over here. Be a perennial.
What the hell is going on right now?
I got a cramp. I'm sorry. Be a perennial playoff team, and you'll get a lot more. You'll get a lot more fans in the stands and fans loud.
Got a cramp. Okay. Are you on your period?
That's not the type of cramps people get. They get
people do actually. Some people do, Cody.
They get midsections, not their hamstring. I literally can't move right now. I'm dying over here.
What'd you do last night?
First of all, I revealed to the squares at the Chronicle that there was beer in the press box, and they were very excited. I say that affectionately.
Which squares?
All of them. It's like, y'all go get a beer.
Did Sam drink a beer?
I told him there was beer up there. And then Jonathan Alexander goes, did you get a beer, Cody? I was like, I got 2, Jonathan. And he looked at me and he goes, you know what? Never change. And I was like, I won't.
Did he not get a blood and honey? I feel like Alexander, if he was going to drink beer. Alexander doesn't like beer, though. Let's be honest.
He looks like a wine guy to me.
No. He looks like a sweet, tropical, like fruity drink type of dude.
Let me get a painkiller, extra whipped cream, please.
Hey, don't judge. Drink what you
I
want.
I love a painkiller.
Are you okay, dude?
I don't know why my hamstring's cramping up. I'm sorry. I'm not athletic enough to get cramps.
Chase Matthews says CJ's pick looked like miscommunication with Nico. Yeah, I don't know what it was or not. So
Nico had essentially two touchdowns taken away for nothing that he did, because Tunsil took a touchdown away, and then if Stroud hits him, that's probably a touchdown as well.
979 H-Town fan, quit selling your tickets to opposing fans and we'll quit being a joke of a fan base. See, I don't get, like, that's easy to say, but if you can make a few $100s extra, or, a couple thousand extra by selling your tickets to Lions fans, and you can sit at home in the comfort of your own home and enjoy the most elite TV product in the world, I'm not judging you. Do what you got to do. I'm not, don't sell your tickets guy. I have no problem with that. That happens a lot, especially when you're in a destination that people want to be. Like, you notice where this tends to happen. It happens in Las Vegas. It happens in Los Angeles. It happens in Dallas. It happens in Houston. You notice a trend here? Like, that's kind of where it happens. Where do people go on vacations? They go to Los Angeles. They go to Las Vegas. They go to Dallas. They go to Houston. So it happens. Like, if you want to sell your tickets and make some bread, go ahead and make some bread. People are saying that you need to hydrate, perhaps. Maybe you consumed too much alcohol last night.
Maybe.
Someone says Emmitt Smith gave a pep talk. I didn't see the Emmitt Smith pep talk. Plus, you don't know who's buying your tickets, opposing fans or not. Yeah, who cares? You want the money.
Yes, it's not like when you put them up on the ticket service, it's like for Lions fans only. You know what? Those tickets are for sale. Texans fans need to buy them.
Yeah, I mean, Lions fans coming in town, they're probably the ones that are going to be willing to pay the most money, for sure. I don't know anything about this Emmitt Smith pep talk. I apologize. If you can drop the link for me or something like that, we'll check out this. In the life of Colby's obsessing over this Emmitt Smith pep talk. He's been talking about it for a while. I'm not hating on it. I tried to find it during the Mixon thing. I can't find it. I don't know what the Emmitt Smith pep talk was. Have no idea.
Did he confuse Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin? Because Michael Irvin was there last night.
Ooh.
Race car.
That would be a bad one, my friend. That would be a bad one.
Because Irvin was the.
Well, he does that all the time. They have the hype video at the beginning where Michael Irvin's hyping up the crowd.
I mean, but I think he was also like the legend of the game last night.
Yeah, that would be a man. That is a man. I got to hit it one more time there.
Race car.
You're mistaken that. HK on the soup. Appreciate you, my friend. Joe Mixon is this Houston Texans. Adrian Peterson. Marshawn said soon as AP start bobbing that head, he gone. Soon as Mixon high step, he gone.
I like that.
I like that.
I do like Joe Mixon's running style, because it doesn't look like the fluid, speedy running backs. It looks obviously violent, but then it's smooth, I guess.
Emmitt Smith had a segment on Monday Night Football program. It was like a 2-minute thing. Okay, I missed it. I did not see it. My apologies. I don't think Emmitt Smith's like a hype talk guy. I would want Michael Irvin to give the hype talk if it was anything. I don't know about Emmitt.
Emmitt does adult diaper commercials.
What?
He does adult diaper commercials.
Depends.
Yeah, I also found out that they're called Depend. There's no S.
Okay. Chase Matthews says CJ's pick looked like miscommunications with Nico. We already talked about that. Nathan, shout out to you, my friend. Is this Governor's Cup still thing? I haven't seen the trophy.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to put it outside at Bud Light Plaza on Sunday.
Are they really?
You can go take a picture with it.
Are you being serious?
No, nobody knows about the Governor's Cup. Nobody knows what it looks like.
Okay. I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
You know what? Okay. I'll see if I get it done for tomorrow. I'm going to go find 3 random pictures of trophies, and I'm going to show them to you, and you have to guess which one is the Governor's Cup.
There's no picture of it.
Does it not exist? Is it not a real thing?
No, there's literally no picture of it, dude. There is none. It does not exist. It is not a thing.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at a picture of what looks to be Rick Perry with Bob McNair from somewhere very long ago.
You know what the Rick Perry thing, you know he's where I got my James Lifford nickname from. Rick Perry, the former governor of Texas.
Rick Perry was he Governor Good Hair?
Yeah, that's what Randy Galloway, the legend, called him. He called him Governor Good Hair. So that's why I call Lippert Scout Good Hair. It's a Galloway thing. Got big influence, that Randy Galloway. And by the way, you want to talk about someone who would be drinking some beer in the press box? Jesus Christ, he would be. Dude would drink 12 beers and then order a milkshake. So did you know this? We were talking about trophies and all that type of crap. Did you know that there's that Doug Peterson has a statue in Philly? He might be fired in Jacksonville, but did you know that Doug Peterson has a statue in Philly? And I'm not going to lie. I figured this out yesterday when I was on the Dumb Zone. It is pretty impressive. It's one of the more badass statues that I've ever seen.
It looks good.
It's legit.
Doug, I did not know he had a statue.
Look at that.
Oh, it's a Philly special statue?
It's a Philly special statue with him talking to Nick Foles.
Wow, that's a pretty great statue.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's not just him by himself. Pretty good statue. Pretty impressive. Maybe he can go visit that next Sunday when the next time the Jags play.
Yeah. The Cowboys have a Tom Landry statue. It's just like randomly placed where like there's no foot traffic. I don't know why they put it where they put it.
It's by the ticket office, right? It's right there on that side. Yeah, it's good. Well, that's good because now you can take a picture in front of it. Less foot traffic, better for the statue. Okay. Jason says, do you agree going for it on fourth down conversion despite the results? Too early in the game not to. No, I actually said in the moment, go for it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't always agree, but in this one, I said go for it. And the right play call was there. CJ just didn't make the throw. I had no problem going for it there. And then when they settled for the 3, I had no problem with that either. I thought they handled that fine.
My thought process was as soon as it was fourth down, I said to myself, these guys stink. Go for it. And that's what they did. And then they didn't get the throw.
Trying to get going as an offense. I also think that if we want to nitpick anything, probably should have challenged the backwards pass that the Cowboys had. Now, Texans didn't recover it. Didn't end up mattering. They went 3 and out, but you would have had them at third and 16 instead of 3rd and 10. Early on, there was a backwards pass. Nearly recovered, by the way. L says, our franchise QB has a problem with fans selling tickets and his agent is DM. What does that mean?
What does David Mulligetta have to do with ticket sales?
Yeah, what does that mean? And his agent is David M. I feel like we're making too much of the David Mulligetta thing.
David Mulligetta as the boogeyman for every like contract negotiation, every franchise.
So is Micah Parsons not going to sign with the Cowboys because the Texans dominated yesterday? Did Jalen Ramsey have a problem taking the Rams money when their stadium gets dominated consistently on a regular basis? I don't know what I don't know the David M reference on that.
I don't get it.
Confused on that. Titans next, then the Jags. What are we thinking about with the Texans as we move forward and we briefly go on to the AFC South, which has been very kind to the Texans this year?
I would be hopeful of a similar performance and maybe even a better performance because they're at home against the Titans than they had against the Cowboys. This is a bad Titans football team, really bad team.
Yeah, and I think that the D-line though could pose some problems depending on what they look like. I also think there is a Super Bowl element here, and I'm not sitting here saying that the Texans are the Chiefs. The Titans don't have anything to play for. Like Amy Adams Stank hates Houston. They hate Houston. There's been like the petty love you blue thing. It could be a season-making type of win for the Titans. I think they probably they know what Amy Adams Stank thinks about the Texans. So I think you're going to get a max effort. I think with Jacksonville, you might get a lay down. That team might just be completely laying down, completely plummeting. I don't even know that you're seeing Doug Peterson in that. But you win the next 2 games. I mean, you can basically wrap up the division. There's a chance, real good chance, that 6 days from now we're talking about a 3-game lead with 5 games remaining, and it's bigger than a 3-game lead because you have the tiebreaker over the Colts. So you could be talking about a 4-game lead with 5 games remaining. over the Indianapolis Colts if you're able to win next week and if they lose to the Lions, which is expected to say the very least.
Man, Jacksonville coming off of a bye week and having to play the Texans that's such an awful part of their schedule for them. Because if it's Peterson, the can of quit's going to be huge. If it's the new guy, good luck rallying the troops against the Texans.
And as we sit right now, the Lions are a 7.5-point favorite on the road against Indy, which isn't that high, really. It's high.
I will smash that Lions number right now.
And I don't think you'll be along. That's why it's kind of scary. But 7.5 bet US promo code YouTube 150. If you want to deposit, Cody's going to smash that. And then the Texans are an 8.5-point favorite right now against Gosh Allen and the Titans. So we'll see how that goes. 8.5. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Texans dominate the stadium when it comes to the presence and the scoreboard. Still a lot of stuff to work on, though. But you feel pretty good about specifically this defense and specifically some of the other things. The return of Nico Collins on the pitch count. Later tonight, we're going to go on to Tennessee in the locker room at 10:30. HOU football for the written word, and SNL, myself and Cody Stoots simulcast every morning. Type in Locker Stoots Texans Talk on all podcast platforms. If you want to get the audio version, we would very much.
Yeah, and I got the link in the description to the Spotify and the iTunes.
There you go.
So you can check
Make it happen.
The podcast. That's what it's called.
Best audio form of stuff that you can have. Whether the Texans are winning, whether they're losing, whether Cody Stoots is cramping or he's not cramping. When it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.